How's it going, guys? Just getting everything set up in here. Let everybody get in. Thanks for joining, guys. What's up, Brian? Let me share my screen here. This is going to be kind of a quick one. I want to mostly open it up to Q&A. But I just wanted to do a quick sort of update on the ProLine roadmap, what we're prioritizing and sort of what we're working on, because it's definitely shifted a little bit over the last couple months. So we kind of came out of 2023 thinking, or not 2020, 2024. We came out of 2024 thinking that we had basically had everything built to where we could work on some new cool marketing stuff, AI stuff. And what we have sort of uncovered just from talking to you guys, our customers, and also from looking at this idea board, is there's still a lot of rough edges on especially on the production and project management sides of ProLine. There's definitely some things on the automation side that we're going to work on. We actually are actively working on, not quite actively working on, but it's something that's in the pipeline for like the next couple weeks. We're going to start working on this multiple campaigns simultaneously. So we are doing some sort of upgrades to the automations just because there's some really hard limitations there we want to get rid of. But for the most part, our dev team has focused itself for at least the first half of 2025 on smoothing out the rough edges on production and project management. So, of course, this idea here, which is I think, most devoted idea of all time, is something that we're going to tackle here very shortly. So this is something we're actually talking about, just getting it done, pushing it in ahead of other stuff. And so we're going to be working on this. It's not actually technically that hard. I think it's just going to take about a week of work to get it knocked out. So I'm not saying it's coming in a week, but we are going to absolutely focus down some of these things. So the company-wide files is something that we want to look at here very shortly. This is actually done. The externally received emails. This is done. However, we're waiting on Google to finish approving us for it. I think that don't have it released. I think it's sort of hidden right now. It's possible, I should have double checked this. It's possible that it's actually already working for Office 365, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I think we might have just disabled it across the board for right now. But we're just waiting on final approvals from Google. So that's already been done. This one's a little bit technically harder, but also we've started the initial stages of the new mobile app. This is a big project. So I was just thinking of moving it to in development today, but I already had to move it back to queued once. So I want to make sure that we're actually working on it before we do that. The other things that are not quite on this list, they haven't come up as ideas, but we keep hearing the same pain points over and over again. And so we're going to tackle these as well, even though they're not technically ideas. I think they're just outside the realm of what most people think about. So one of those is handling multiple trades. Currently, no CRM does a good job of handling multiple trades. And they also don't do a good job of tracking things like the supplementing process. And that's because you have usually one workflow in the CRM. And we call it stages. Some of the other platforms call it stages or statuses or whatever you want to call it. There is your workflow, and you have the one workflow for your we call them projects, other people call them jobs. And when you start a project, you might have a roof that you're doing for that project, as well as gutters, as well as maybe something else as well. Maybe you're doing the fascia or even a bigger project like siding. And the homeowner wants one quote for these things. They don't want to be signing multiple quotes. So you can't really do multiple projects in ProLine for it. But all these different trades have different processes. When the materials get ordered for gutters isn't really connected to when materials get ordered for the roof. And I mean, that might be, depending on your setup with your subs, might be the case, and suppliers. But generally speaking, these different trades sort of have their own workflows that really need to be separate from the main workflow in ProLine. This is something that no CRM does well, which is why I don't think it's actually shown up on the board, but we keep hearing the same pain points over and over again from our users. So it's actually something that we're going to be knocking out here in the next 30 days is a system for managing your different trades. So underneath a project, you'll actually have sub workflows for different trades. That can also be used to track supplementing. If you want to track supplementing as its own in its own workflow, there's other use cases as well. So and then that is going to kind of lead into some overhauling of how our orders work. We've done a number of improvements recently, but we want to continue to build out orders so that they link to the calendar better, and everything is just a little bit smoother. We keep hearing a lot of feedback from users that they're struggling with managing their production in ProLine. And of course, our specialty has always been the communication, the automation, and that's definitely important. But we don't want anyone to feel like they have to cut corners or are having to take um, deal with something that's less ideal on the production side in order to use ProLine. Our goal is to be the absolute best at both the production management side and um, and on the communication and automation side. This is really our philosophy at ProLine. A lot of companies really think about, oh, we're going to be good at this thing, but not good at this thing. I just don't think that's a good way to look at business. I think you should try to be the best at every aspect of the business that you do. It's really hard to do sometimes, but it is something that we're striving for. So we're not okay with just being good at automations. We want to be amazing at the production side as well. We don't want there to be any other CRM in the roofing space that people point to and say, oh, that one's the best at production. We just want it to be ProLine across the board. Kelly said that would be great for job costing too. And you are right. We are also working right now on figuring out how all that's going to work because um, you have all these different trades usually separate on your quote, right? You'd have the main roof and you'd have maybe an add-on for gutters. Maybe you have another structure that's for siding or something. There's lots of ways you can set it up, but basically all of these things are different pages on your quotes. We're currently working on all those going to your invoices as separate line items. So they'd carry across to the invoice separately and then also potentially into the budget as well. Just a little bit more separation there between your different services. And then we're creating this new system, which we don't really have a name for yet, but it's for managing the different trades. It's going to be linked to your services in ProLine. So we have our services here. So it'll be linked to this. We don't know all the details of how it's going to link. But basically, if you've noticed with our new project UI that we just launched, there is essentially an empty space here. So we're going to fill that space with an area that is going to be used for tracking the different trades. And then that's going to become the cornerstone for solving a lot of these other issues that are ideas on the idea board around managing production. This does not mean that we're not going to get to some of the other marketing and automation AI features that we have here on the idea board as well. We still want to tackle all of that and get to a lot of that this year. But what we just realized is like, let's focus on the fundamentals here. Let's not get carried away. This is a problem that a lot of software companies have is they want to chase the cool ideas. They want to chase the features that are fancy before they really nail down the fundamentals. And we don't want to do that. We're getting to be a pretty decent size software company now, but something that's really core to our DNA that we want to hang on to as we grow is listening to our users, listening to you guys. And that both feeds up through our support team. And that's why we do invest so much into having a large support team that can actually get on calls and talk to people regularly. But then also the idea board as well as a way for us to make sure that we're listening to you guys and what's important to you. So we are, at least for the first half of 2025, really focused on the fundamentals and making sure that ProLine is working for you guys, especially here. We have a lot of people that have come on board with ProLine in the last 6 months. But they've come on board during a relatively slow part of the year. And we know as things start to pick up, that's when a lot of these issues around production are going to start to become more and more of a pain point. And so that's why we're really tackling that stuff now, as well as looking at rebuilding the mobile app, hopefully getting that launched before summer, so that as we go into this really busy period that's going to be coming up here in a few months for a lot of companies, we want to have some of these things really squared away so that you guys are can go into that season with confidence that yes, ProLine, I can communicate through ProLine, I can automate my sales follow through ProLine, it can help me sell jobs, but then it also is going to actually help me produce those jobs without causing more pain points. So that's the summary there on the roadmap. Just looking in the chat here. Brian, I saw your message. Appreciate that, man. So if you guys, let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm here for the next 20-ish minutes, 18 minutes to answer your questions. So it can be about the roadmap. It can be about ProLine in general. It can be just a random support request. It's totally up to you. I'm here for you guys for the next 18 minutes. You can type something into the chat. You can type something into the Q&A, whatever you guys want to do. I'm trying to think if we did. I think I already showed this before. Maybe not. Maybe last week this wasn't live yet. We did launch this new project UI here. So while I'm waiting for you guys to answer or to put questions in, I'll just talk about this project UI. So we launched this new project UI. We had some initial bugs with it. Some of you might have noticed. We did get those fixed pretty quickly. We also are about to release some additional kind of improvements around how contacts are handled right now. It's not allowing you to create a new contact from scratch here. We are fixing that tonight, so it will allow you to create a contact from scratch instead of just searching. Right now, it's just searching. But then also, you guys might have noticed that we separated out the process of creating a project. So we have the project creation here. That's now a different area than editing a project. So those are two separate areas, and they look different, and they present the data differently. And then this is a much larger area to work with now. You have quick access to all the information about a project while you're working in this other area. We got a question here, so I'll look at that. Kelly asks, is there a way to bring pitch in from GF Quick Measure? 2, is there a way to do an if-then statement on calculations? Example, if under 3 pitch, we need to order X amount of base sheet. Let me tackle this one at a time. So for pitch, we do not have a way to bring in pitch right now. The thing with pitch, so the pitch coming from the measurement providers is it's this fraction, and we don't have currently a way in ProLine measurements to handle that. The main reason that we haven't tackled that so far, and this can go on the idea board if you think it's really necessary. It might already be on the idea board, but the thing is, if for most use cases, the pitch has already been factored into the area of the roof. So most of the other measurements are taking into account the pitch already, because it's factoring that in to calculate the areas, how much shingles you need, all of that. So the only thing, and open to being wrong here, but the only thing to my knowledge that you would need the pitch for is to indicate if you need a steep roof fee or like to charge extra for safety equipment or risk involved with a higher pitch. The other thing is that pitch changes from different aspects of the roof. So you have predominant pitch, right? But and that does come through, but it comes through as this fraction that we don't really have a good way to work with. It doesn't mean that we can't add a way to work with it and add that as like a type of measurement and have that be part of this. It's just that then we'd have to kind of rework a lot of things, because you can't really use that in a calculation because it's not technically a number. We have thought about potentially like reworking it into like a decimal. That's one way to approach it potentially. But that's the way I think some companies are doing it, is they'll have a field here for pitch, and then they'll just put in the decimal form of the pitch. There's some stuff in the chat here. Brian has some thoughts here, I think. Brian, I'm not sure what you mean, but what does the area function use for? I don't know if these are other questions or if these are related to what I'm talking about. Just labor is more per pitch. Yeah. So like usually you're going to charge more for a higher pitch on labor. That's just, it's something right now that we can't really automate, but open to having that on the idea board and tackling that. The second thing here is there a way to do an if then statement on the calculations if under three pitch order X amount of base sheet? Yes, that does already exist. It's not an if then, it's if then isn't really needed for it. But if you go to we'll go to the price list item. We'll go to a calculation here. So there's a minimum. That's what you're looking for here. So what you would do is just have a minimum of like three. And so, oh, so you're saying based on pitch, if the pitch is three, order X amount of base sheet. So the answer to that is no. You can set a minimum. So if it comes out to less than this, always order this amount, which I think kind of answers what you're solving there or what you're looking for there, but um, for the not based on another thing like that. These are the things. It's like we're automating most of the quoting process, but you can't really get all of it. So there is certain things that you are just going to have to be part of your quoting process, but there's going to be part of your quoting process that you guys are just going to have to look at. And one of those things is pitch, and then factor in, do we need to order a couple more base sheets, stuff like that. It's, we might be able to get there. That's another thing that might need to be an idea on the idea board, is like maybe conditional calculations that are conditional on other things. One thing that you could do on that, let me see, quotes. One thing that you could potentially do would be to use like a custom formula here. If we had a field, like if you added a field, it wouldn't be pre-populated, but if you had a field for pitch and you put the decimal value in there, you could work that in. And you don't even need to use a custom formula. You could just work that in. So these are all multiplied together. So maybe you factor that in somehow to this, plus have a minimum. It could kind of get you there. So that's another way. Because I mean, this is making it conditional on like one of the measurements. So that might be one way to approach it. Sorry, I don't have better answers to that. Let me see. Get some other questions here. Brian said currently in quotes, we're just adding another line item for extra charge and labor. Yeah. So just like manually adding, either increasing the quantity of something or just adding another charge, like a steep roof charge or something like that. Jennifer asks, is there a way to have the notes in a customer file be in one spot? If I leave a note in the project details, my team sees them, but if the note is in another area, they may not look and find them. Hope I'm making sense of the question. Be in one spot. If I leave another project, another area. I'm not sure, Jennifer, on the other area you might be referring to. We do have notes in one place. So all notes would be in the activity area. So all notes, and the thing is, like, even if you say you left a note on a contact. So if we go to this main contact for Richard Castle, and then I leave a note here on his contact down here. The thing is, because these are linked, if I go to his project, it's going to show up in the project areas too. So all these activities are linked. And so the only thing I think you might be talking about would be the notes area down here. We keep talking about renaming this description because this isn't really a notes field. Like, this is not meant to have random notes. This is meant for when you are when you're intaking a new lead and you're on the phone with them, any additional information from the call could be put in here and say like, make sure gates are closed. They have dogs. That's what this is meant for. But the other thing is that we've now added this. Even if you update this, we actually include it here as well. So it does make it into this as well. So even if you are updating there, it would be under more details. This can be quite long. There could be a lot of information here, so we can't just push it directly in, but it has more details that shows you what the project notes were. Hopefully that answers that question. Let me know if there's some area that I'm missing that you're referring to. Warren said, any updates on consideration of DIY measurement reports? It's not a priority for us. There's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, there's just a lot of providers of measurement reports out there. And our preference is to partner with them because it's such a different type of business. Yes, there is one company out here trying to do CRM and roof measurements, and they're also falling behind on they're doing well on the roof measurement side. They're falling behind on the other side of it. So there's just a lot of there's a lot that goes into the measurement side. And yeah, we might tackle that eventually, but we really would rather have good relationships with all of our different measurement partners. We have a bunch of measurement partners, all of which are great. We also offer the ability to import measurements directly via CSV. So we actually have essentially every single measurement provider covered on and then we have a bunch of different measurement providers. If there's a measurement provider that we don't have, other than the one that also has a CRM, because you can import their measurements via CSV, but other than that, we're not going to have a direct integration. But you know, add that as an idea on the idea board for that integration. We are open to adding more. It's not that difficult for us to add more measurement integrations. We're open to doing it if there's a demand for it. So that's the short answer on that. Like it's one of those other things that's like we're focused on the production side of the business before we would try to tackle measurements. Oh, Brian asked about area. That's a good question. So the area function, this did exist before, but I guess it's a little bit more visible now. Area is like completely optional. You don't have to be using it. It's just one more filtering tool. So the main use case for it is going to be like a subdivision. Maybe you're doing new construction on a new subdivision, and you got 100 projects in that subdivision, and you have all those projects in ProLine. You might want to link them with an area. So like here's an example of some subdivision names that are in this demo. So you might want to say this is an um, Enchanted Forest project, and you have all of them labeled as Enchanted Forest. And then on your filters here on your project's area, you can select Enchanted Forest, and it's going to show you only those that are associated with that area. So that's the only like purpose of that is it's a supplementary way in addition to location, because location usually refers to your office. Like you have multiple offices, you would have a location for each office. And so area adds to that and allows you to drill down into within that location of like for that office, is there like a specific subdivision or neighborhood typically that this project belongs to that you want to like have that be labeled. Warren says, DIY roof measurement reports. I wish we'd be able to mark up satellite images to generate roof measurements or order a report through ProLine. Yeah, it's like I was saying, I mean, it's something that is going to be really cool. We might tackle it down the road. It's just there's other things that are a higher priority for us right now, and we also do want to have good relationships. But if you have ideas on who else we could integrate with, that would allow like there's if you have another provider that offers really good DIY measurements that you want us to integrate with, we're definitely open to that. Oh, Warren, that looks like a copy paste from our idea board. Yeah. So yeah, I would just go vote on that idea. That is definitely on our idea board. Kelly said yes, notes separated out from activities would be great. I'm not sure what you're referring there to or referring to on that, Kelly. Maybe you're talking about like an internal chat. We do have that on the idea board. All right. Brian said on the project details, it has location and area. Oh yeah. Yeah. So that should clear that up. Yep, that's the idea with the area. It doesn't really do that much. We are in retrospect, we probably should have delayed this and focused on other things, but we hired a new developer, and his first task was canvassing. So we're actually about to launch a canvassing tool inside of ProLine. It's going to be very basic. Long term, we envision that that area thing will be somehow linked with the canvassing, so you can like cut out an area and you can assign like a neighborhood to a sales rep to knock, that type of thing. So there might be a connection there at some point, but right now there's nothing like that. Robert asks, if you're building a new quote on the fly for a specific client, is there a way to save it as a template to use going forward? There is an idea on the idea board for that. It is not the case currently. So the recommendation is to just take the time to make sure your quote templates are really rock solid, and then rather than like you wouldn't want to build your quotes every time from scratch. What you'd want to do is build out your quote templates first, make sure you have good quote templates, and then you're starting from there. It does, I can see how, like, maybe you really dial in a quote for one person and you're like, hey, I really want this to just go to my quote templates. It's technically possible. I think there is an idea on the idea board. It's just there's some real issues with going that direction. The whole system is designed to go the other way, go to quote templates to quotes. So definitely possible. I'm pretty confident there's an idea on it. Like we'll search it. Um, we'll just search quote template and see if it comes up. Yeah, create a template from a quote I am editing. That probably needs to get cleaned up. But yeah, that is the idea that you'd want to go vote for. Um, and if that gets enough votes, we will add it. It's just there's just a lot of things bouncing around. All right. Thanks for the question, Robert. And then Kelly clarified notes in the activity section get lost. No great way to see if a tech who's been out on a job put a note in there. You have to go searching for it. It'd be nice to just have a line of notes specifically. Got it. Okay. That's a good, that helps me here. So there's a few things. One is that it is on our list, like our list relatively soon to add filters here at the top of activity where you could just click on notes. That's one thing. That would it would like hide everything else in the activity. So you'd have like an all button and it would default to all. And then you'd have like a notes and it would default to only. The thing is, these notes that are on things wouldn't be included. It would only show standalone notes. So if like the tech had created a note, update about job, then it would only show you those notes. The thing is, so there is an idea on the idea board for like an internal chat, like just having a chat inside of the project. That's essentially what you're asking for. So it's just it's not something the immediate most immediate solution to what you're looking for is going to be that ability to filter down. That way you're not having to scroll through and you could just flip over to notes and then you'd be able to just see all the notes on the project quite easily. And then we would have emails, text messages, calls, and then probably like other. I think those are cover all the main categories. So we do plan on that, and then that should allow you to be able to like see that more clearly in here, and for certain things not to get lost. But yeah, long term, having like a chat that's separate from activity, entirely separate from activity, definitely something we like. We'd love to have, just like team chat in general. It's just like adding internal chat is just a monster. So it's kind of have to take it a step at a time. All right. I think we're out of town or out of time. I'm not out of town, but we are out of time. And so thank you for all the great questions, guys. I appreciate it. And let's if on some of these things, like please add more stuff to the idea board. The idea board is, once again, for most of the decisions we're making, we're going off the idea board. And so go add your votes, go add your ideas. They are monitored. I still personally review every single one of them. So definitely appreciate it, guys. All right. We'll see everybody next week.